Reconvene,
Sorry, go ahead.
reconvene the meeting, have a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, is there a roll call vote, please?
Jackson,
Aye.
Holiday,
Aye.
Trainer.
Aye.
Back in session at 5:55 PM. Now we're gonna discuss, budget items. Chief, you want to go first?
Sure. I have the initial budget I've submitted is, just about the same as last year's submission. We have turned some things right now. When I started, we were about 50-50 for employees and other operational items. You'll see normals are 80-20. We're now at 70-30. Personnel to operations. I've got some final numbers from the last statements that Lisa sent to us, so I'm gonna tweak it a little bit. I think the final budget you see will be cut a little bit less than the 2.3 that you see right now. I think we're actually gonna be less than that. However, with the residents supporting us in the new levy, the money we're bringing in, we're only tapping into reserves. At this point, a couple $100,000 a year. And some of this stuff will continue to trade off. We were way behind in a lot of things we needed, so we made some purchases. Those will start to drop off as well. And we're looking at our staffing matrix now to see what we can do with that. But we are in good shape for, for what we have in reserve and what we're going to carry over. Fiscally, we're in very good shape and should be to continue to be able to expand our services based on what we have now. Again, I've got some closer year-end numbers from Lisa, so there will be some tweaks to this that should put it in a downward direction, I hope. But I also have I have some requests for stuff, so I'm going to balance it around, but it'll be right around this ballpark or less.
Are there line items as we look through here that have gone significantly up or down that you would like to call to our attention? Or is there just kind of a parity across the budget?
It's been, I will say, at least in the couple years I've been here, it's been consistent. There hasn't been a lot of hits across. We've escaped a couple of things. We thought we had some blown motors. There's been some major expenses that we put in there, and that's how we end up with a lot of carryover too, because we're always in what if this happens, so we want to make sure we have money to cover those items. We have actually accelerated some purchases of things that we're going to do next year because of the surplus we have in the budget right now this year to try to get that stabilized. There's just continual things, contractual things, the replacement of our fire gear and stuff that has gone up, but we've also shopped around and tried to get the safest stuff for the best bang. So every time we make we look at everything, we don't just go to the same vendor. We'll say we can get it over here, we'll get it over there. We've actually changed our vendor this year for the fire gear, and we'll continue to use them going forward. I think the biggest expenses that we have that we've noticed have gone up is our record management system expenses. We've expanded them to be able to document more. On top of our accreditation, we're also looking at trying to lower our ISO rating. So we need to have some better documentation on some things we didn't have before. And those RMS modules, they're all, here's your fire reporting, you pay this. Here's your EMS, you pay this. If you want this, you have to pay for everything. And so Lieutenant Broska's done a great job beating the vendor up, but those are some of the things that have gone up. But nothing's gone up exponentially. Lisa did a great job with insurance this year. That helped us out tremendously as far as what I was afraid the costs are going to go up, and we we're going to have to start reevaluating that. But overall, we put stuff in contingency, knowing we probably won't spend it, but we want to make sure we have enough to provide good service all year long.
You've talked about reserve, and can you speak to that? Can you quantify that?
Well, so the reserve is what reserve we have carryover. So at the end of the year, we have carryover, and that goes into to a reserve fund. I'm not sure exactly what is in there now. It's over $1 million in there. And what we do is that is like a rainy day fund. It also helps us to offset costs so that we don't have to continue passing costs on by levies or whatever. but also too, as costs go up, that reserve fund, goes down. We don't overspend it, we want it there. But we also have to, if we cannot allocate any more than 75% of our total funds. So, because we have to have that 25% until we get our draw for the first year. So that buffer is also very helpful, should, God forbid, something catastrophic happen, we have to get into the funds a little deeper.
And what are potential capital expenses over the next 5 to 10 years? Big pieces that.
The biggest piece we'll probably have over the next 5 to 10 years, and depending how long I'm here, our aerial apparatus is getting old. I changed how we run it. We brought a new engine before I got here. So we run the new engine, the aerial apparatus sits. Another engine or something, depending on how we grow, will be a replacement that'll need to be done. And we'll probably need another medic at some point in time. But for the short term, that's not even on the radar, because fortunately, everything is in great shape and we do have a great maintenance program. So we're hoping that stuff will just, continue to maintain it.
So you don't sense the need to budget for those items. You feel that as long as you have a significant reserve, you can meet whatever need might arise.
Now, I don't, and here's the thing, I can budget for it, I can put money aside every year, but with the cost of a medic exceeding 600,000 and the cost of a new engine exceeding $1 million, that reserve fund will cover part of it. We'll have to figure out how to finance it, or if there's other funds that we can pull to pay for that. But, I don't need, I have a plan that I know we'll need stuff for equipment. But for the engines and the medics, right now, the fleet is again, very new, is in fairly good shape. The guys do a great job maintaining it. And so we'll just continue to treat that stuff as if it's our own, and, keep it in that tip-top shape.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? How'd you make out on the warranty work on the sub and the new engine?
Got it all back.
They took care of it?
Well, they took care of all of it.
Electronic boxes that went
Yeah,
bad?
so it's, I used to have this, when I investigated fires, I had Ford Explorers just catching on fire all the time. And it turned out that it was a nationwide problem with the cruise control boxes would overpower, and you shut the car off and they would maintain their power, but they had nowhere for it to go, so they would catch on fire. After some digging, Lieutenant Thresh, I did a little digging, all these electronic control boxes seemed to have a little issue. And because this was our second one, and we found out some other people had the same problem with it, Ray did a great job. Look, here's the deal. And it got fixed, and they ate it. And we knew once they said, yeah, we're going to pay for it, we knew that we'd come across the problem.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Question for us?
No, sir, we're good.
Okay. Jason, you want to go up next?
I can, and Lisa has a lot of my numbers because they're so all over the place. We kind of want to speak on our needs, other than the streets being about 300 plus the OPWC and the culvert we spoke, Dave, and
Yeah, I
the rest are kind of scattered against the parks, the cemeteries, and maintenance.
got your email on the road situation, and we'll have to discuss that later. I still like to be able to take care of maybe Brookview and those. And I still think need to do the stuff down at Harlem that hasn't had anything done to it for a long time. Mayfair and all that.
Well, I pulled those numbers this morning there just because Mayfair Court being the court, there's
Yeah,
only 3 houses on it, thinking that's the least probably travel road in the township.
yeah,
So if we could get another year, definitely have it done next year. And I picked Brookview to take off because just the size and the volume of it.
yeah.
Just to get that number down below that 300, if we could, it's probably the least damaged road back in that neighborhood. And then definitely push to have them next year, and that would get us down to that 2.
You're still gonna repair Overbrook and them?
Yeah, Overbrook,
Okay.
Stormview, do
Do
those
the
two
bubble,
crossroads,
do the bulb
bulbs,
repair.
and then do also
Okay.
Mayfair and Lakewood.
Okay,
And then that would get us Robbins chip sealed. Instead
okay.
of scratching Robbins, because we had all that patching done this past year.
Yeah, I'd like to cover that up. Yeah,
And then we could put the Mayfield Court and then Brookview on next year for definite. Along with some of the other roads that we haven't attained.
Can you speak a little bit about to moving the parks budget underneath maintenance?
Been in, conversation with the Parks Committee, and they were wanting to propose their own budget for certain needs and wants and what have yous, and I'm going to encompass their per se budget under maintenance, kind of overseeing the purchases that they would want for park operation needs, dog bag, mulch, tree work, anything they will want to come through me. Since I can do the purchasing and the credit, whether it's a credit card or account or however we need to do more with that, but also going through to make sure it's something that we see justifiable that needs done. Not just kind of winging things as they want to. And kind of wrangling them into doing a streamline on what and why we're doing certain things, but they've done a great job of putting a schedule out on timelines on why and what they do, things like mulching trees and fertilizing trees and the events they have, but to bring all the purchasing under me, which I spoke with Lisa, and we have agreed that budget, which we had talked about being under me, will have a park category. So we know that fund is being used for certain park needs and wants, but it'll ultimately come through me that will prove that purchase happened, which I will then make. As well as long-term additions with maybe remodeling the concession stand, updating the bathroom, some longer term capital improvement.
okay, so their budget proposed of 95,575 kind of under you now.
Yeah, it'll be basically a park budget under maintenance.
This provides great accountability for the Parks Committee, but also I think it's important for us to recognize that you have taken on a significant role here that was not part of your original job description. And you have embraced the work that's involved with it as well, that falls to your staff in addition.
Right.
And I just wanted to point out to my fellow trustees here that this is a significant change and it has a significant impact in our maintenance department. And so I'm thrilled that you're doing it. I just think it's important that over the course of this next year that you are very frank with us about the amount of work that this places upon you and any shifting of priorities that it entails. And if 2 employees in your department is sufficient to deal with this added work that's been added to you. I want to make that point.
And I also want to do it to try to bring the park kind of under a common eye. One with you guys as a board, with me as the filter between committee and board of the everyday dog waste baskets, trash bag, you don't need to know that. If we're gonna do something substantial or make a major improvement or have a capital investment down the road, then I can do the legwork, the backgrounds to get the estimates, the needs, the wants, to present it to you guys as the board to know this is why, after they've done their legwork on why the committee wants to do it.
Yeah, this is going to take a lot of the
streamline that effort but pulling us all together.
It's going to take a lot of the pain out of trustee meetings.
Well,
Part of it.
I think the park is obviously a township facility, right? So I think that only makes sense. And while just immensely appreciative of the work, the time and the effort that the Parks Committee puts into like doing some of this beautification work and thinking about planning, events and strategy for the park, stuff like that. It does make sense that we'll be able to easily put toilet paper in the restrooms and stuff like that.
And
I was curious because like Lisa, I'm looking at page 5 of that PDF that you sent us, which looks like the roll up of the subsequent calendar timeline of the things that need to be done, like what you're talking about. And I'm curious if it's like dollar for dollar, if it was amended based on what we can bring in house. For example, that page 6 has $100 for tree pruning. Like, do we have street lopers? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, see, now, those are still ideas I need to get from them.
Sure.
If they talk about volunteers and a forester, I do not know who this forester is. I do not know if they're doing it.
Yeah, so like we gotta pay somebody
$100
$100 to come in here and tell us what limbs to chop off. Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out. You know what I mean?
That I would say no.
And on top of that, like $450 for some handicap signs, like 3 pieces of metal and 3 T-channels, like more or less, that costs $450.
Which I can guarantee I can get a lower price because we have contracts somewhere, which we don't want to put a sign in until we have asphalt in the parking lot.
There.
Not 88 compliant.
Mhm.
So-
Those things of taking those ideas and kind of pulling them in, stating it needs to be this process.
Okay.
With me doing the legwork and pricing, because we could probably get a better price, because we have vendors we can use.
Okay.
Let alone doing my backlog work of finding the best price compared to something that they may always use.
Yeah, and I don't think that we're in a position where we need to pinch pennies, so to speak, but I do think we want to keep an eye
Well,
out
and
for
it's also
unnecessary
an
spend.
agreement with Lisa that I have the authority to purchase things.
Sure.
The park committee per se does not. So the whole reimbursement, everything she's wanted to get away from
Makes sense.
can come under me, can come under a credit card, can come on a detailed log. Here's why, here's what, and this is what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
When I involve with the park committee, have their meetings, have their processes, which they're now providing timelines on things they're looking for in the future. Which me having a great interest in the park, because that's truly my background. I'd like to see this place really strive, because it's a great thing.
And it will certainly save
And
us
we need
some
to
time.
Make it pop for the whole community, and that's really what I wanna do, and let's hold in and make the best decisions fiscally and, maintenance wise, and make it happen.
Roger.
There's a huge project here on page 12, and that's the silo and the mural painting, which is about $156,000. And my question is, how do you intend to approach this project? How do we prioritize it? What is your thinking about this? How do we help the Parks Department work through
My
this?
professional opinion is that silo is a hazard to the public,
Mhm,
and there's nothing we can do to that hazard, but nothing we do to that silo to make it publicly safe.
mhm.
If you take that broken rebar and concrete off the front of it, you're gonna create more hazards.
Yeah.
So I think the silo needs to come down, and that whole area needs to be demolished, excavated, taken out, all the way out to the road. Made that a complete flat park space, and then move forward on what the committee would like to have done, whether it's a building, a shelter, a lot, pickleball courses.
Mhm.
That route of that silo is a hazard. And I think it needs to come down. It should have came down when the rest of it came down.
Mhm.
How are you going to, is this, I assume this is being recorded?
Sure.
Okay. How are you going to get the Parks Committee to that same decision?
Is I've been in conversation with the chief himself that agrees it is a public hazard. And that whole piece of property is a hazard, which is why there's a fence around it.
Okay.
So all that needs to be removed and be put into park property. To be developed and used for needs that they want. Like I said, whether a building, a concession stand, a farm market, however. We want to go forward that with having the planners that Jim has mentioned, will be coming in probably the first of the year to talk about the larger scope. Of everything over here and over there on what we can possibly look forward to.
Okay, a couple things. One, certainly helping the Parks Committee with their expectations in that regard are very important. And then secondly, bringing planners in to talk about how this pans out, et cetera, is really a decision that this committee makes, this board makes in that regard. And so it's very important that we have our processes in place in that regard.
And we're trying to establish that now so we can then bring it to you guys to present.
I mean, if the intent and purpose of this conversation is to, preliminary or otherwise approve these budgets, I mean, I'll go out and say that, I love the idea of a mural on the silo. I love the idea of finding some way in a large format to celebrate America 250. I'm not gonna justify $156,000 to paint a infrastructure that needs to be torn down in the first place. I don't consider that a landmark of Harlem Township. I consider it an eyesore, and it probably needs to go. So, that would be my opinion on the matter. If we get to the point where we're officially approving the budgets, I would not be in favor of those two specific line items on this particular part of
So
the.
we could just go ahead and strike those.
That would be my
Yeah,
position.
I think so.
I think we should.
Based on what Chief said
We
to
can
me
take
two
that.
ago on the safety of it, I think if we checked with our insurance carrier, we can get the same feedback.
It is a true public hazard.
Yeah, it's deteriorated and that metal chute where the gravel came out for the conveyor is not safe. It's
I mean, that space would be better used as additional park space, as additional parking space. You know what I mean? Like I can think of infinite number of better uses for that place than to leave it fenced up and paint the side of a building that's
Well,
gonna fall
and
down.
honestly, it is a maintenance sore on us because we're mowing the grass, we're spraying the weeds, we are maintaining an area that is not being used.
How much do we need to budget to tear it down?
We are in that process currently and we're rough estimate. I actually talked to a guy today and he was saying probably between $30,000 and $50,000
Oh,
to make it all go away. All the silo, the concrete,
pad.
the pad, all of the aprons all the way out, the septic tank, everything in there, hauled out, gone, flat.
wow, that's more than we paid the first time to get all the other stuff taken down.
Well, but it's post-COVID now. Everything's more expensive.
Right. But
Right.
that was him coming out, basically,
Inflation.
we're looking between 30 and 50.
I would
And
love,
he's gonna itemize it out to see how far.
if
really needs to go.
possible, before we approve this budget, it would be great to be able to stick a number in there.
He said hopefully you have something to leave by Monday.
Okay,
Okay,
And we're not doing permanent.
right,
until
I understand, February, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
all right, that's good.
And I didn't put those two items in there. In the.
I saw
temporary,
that.
even in the temporary. So,
Yeah,
30 or 40 for considerable amount of green space compared to 156 for.
Paint has to be painted.
And something that.
And another- yeah, and another thing that Jay and I talked about too is, unfortunately, with the break-ins of some things, it's gonna get spray painted, it's gonna get vandalized.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think it's great, I agree with Trustee all day, it'd be great to have something. But the safety factors and the things we've discussed, I think it's better use of other funds otherwise.
How much does a new silo cost?
concrete poured, you wouldn't want to know.
Well, maybe not concrete poured, a decorative silo.
We could put one on the side of the new trustee, or the
Well,
township
see,
hall.
those are conversations that we could have that next to
Right.
a building that looks like a barn.
And that's-
Be a community center. food
Yes.
or,
So I would
and
say-
have that silo with long lasting material.
I would,
Emblem and,
Yes.
we have that barn silo look.
Yes.
That's up to date and used.
say to
Yeah.
we want to say to the Parks Committee, we're not against an incredible landmark that stands out in our community. We
Absolutely.
desire that.
Mhm.
But this isn't it.
No,
And
this is the
we'd actually
concrete
like something way better. And we're all for that.
Right.
Go out and tell us what we need to do.
And that's, my plan is to, if we get this down to bare ground, then in the next 3 to 5 years, have that conceptual plan for a building, for public restrooms, meeting rooms, farmers market, whatever route we all decide to go. You wanna have a silo with some signage or something that's all community right there.
Right.
And also if it does have the meeting space, that can be more income for the township.
Mhm.
Because they'll have the green chaw, but now they're gonna have somewhere that's closer to the park, closer to walking fast, closer to other things. I mean, if it were me and I was running either the Grange that's out kind of by field or here where I can have my kid run out and play, I'm gonna pick this one.
Yeah.
But if this one's booked, you have the other option, it's more kind of passive income almost.
Yeah.
Have an extra rental space.
While we're on this page, above the talk about the silo was gazebo. Are we talking about a new one or?
They're wanting to create / build a new kiosk / gazebo for the park somewhere.
Okay,
But they have
well,
not determined yet.
all right,
They are still trying to investigate on what they want. Or what they need.
because this has got gazebo structure, 15,000. Then gazebo panel showing Harlem Township history, 6,000.
See, these are all conceptual ideas they have
Okay,
that have not actually been brought to light.
all
So,
right,
and they're as I was explained to you by Dave in the thought design process. It's I think some things they're just trying to get on paper that will very easily probably roll into the next year.
Yeah,
Just kind of like this patch year for their restroom that didn't happen.
Hmm.
They're trying to get numbers down to drastically change in the future. But that's also where I come into play is what are you wanting and why? Because we just don't need another structure with 5 or 6 benches in it in the middle of a green space that kids play in.
well, I know they talked about the kiosks of 2, 3 months ago. I wondered if there's gonna be some kind of shelter over, so this is part of that,
It
maybe.
can be,
Okay,
and when I spoke with Dave about kiosks, it was, I pictured an electronic kind of format.
Right.
Of touchscreen information.
mm-hmm,
They came back with like signage, which
no,
for 2024, going to 25, we need touchscreen sign, we need
Yeah.
interaction. So those are conversations I've had with them to take their concept and let's bring it to here. And then see what we need to do for the next 2 or 3 years to get to there.
okay. Got it.
Kind of the very early stages of trying to wrangle them in of let's bring us up to the 21st century. And get some nice things in here.
What else is falling under your upkeep of the Grange and that?
Upkeep of the Grange, which you know we're doing a roof currently, and I mean it's just some everyday numbers that we've been carrying for years on just your standard maintenance there. And
Okay,
the other big one in the parks was they're wanting to revamp kind of the restrooms a little bit to spruce them up a little bit, some change the tables, some new lights and mirrors and what have you. But those are
Well, the-
small itemized numbers.
yeah, I think it was 50 grand.
Well, that is them hiring an architect to see what they need to do to make it 4 seasons. Which I've brought to light that we need to look longer and larger on replacing the whole structure,
Mm-hmm,
which incorporates the new building if we put it at the concrete.
yeah, I'd hate to see 50K put in that building just to,
To get by, yeah, I don't agree with that at all.
no, I don't think so.
My honest goal is to put some automatic paper towel holders, some,
That and the
dispensers.
silo money could make a pretty decent restroom.
we do automatic lights, automatic paper towel holders, new mirrors, maybe some new toilets. Throw some paint on it, maybe with a baby changing table. We're good for a couple of years.
Okay,
Start conceptually planning for 3 to 5 out. We're gonna build a structure with the rest.
okay, sounds good. Anything else? Questions?
Not really.
Well, thank you for your work.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
you're taking on a lot. Okay, zoning,
Say probably one of the biggest on here is the accounting and legal, which that's gonna be for any kind of the services we need for the economic development tools that we go through or we're deciding to go through.
May I interrupt you just for a moment? What pages am I looking at here, Lisa, for his budget?
I have no idea.
that's what I'm
On
looking for,
PDF?
and I got paperwork.
One on the PDF?
Think so?
Let me look at it.
Yep,
'Cause
Thank
I
you.
just scanned all
I
of it.
I needed to get on the same page. Thank you.
Oh, I got it here. Go ahead.
You guys got it.
As far as training, that's gonna be for anything we do, like we talked in the meeting, if we get some new kind of program in here, if we need any kind of training, if any kind of continuing training that would cost anything, that's for 5,000. Other professionals gonna be, say we need an engineer to come in and look at something involved with what we're doing up in the township. And actually, it probably could go right underneath Jason's. Jason can handle that part, but that would be the other professional as far as probably pretty much tied into the accounting and legal. The BZA, other professional would be if we need any kind of outside counseling, and that was $30,000. Travel and meeting would be any kind of travel I'd go to for my professional training or any kind of training on new programs or operating systems that we are potentially going to have following the next year. Whether that's, a lot of that's going to be tied into the cost of the whole system anyway, so the question is whether we'll even utilize that. As far as your postage, your printing, your zoning ads, your BZA ads, that's everything we need for the zoning commission and the BZA for their ads and printing and their postage for sending out the letters. Any kind of printing we need there. Payment to political parties. Really not real clear on that. Lisa, what is that?
That is Delaware County Regional.
Yeah, that's our
Would
membership.
that be also anything tied to any, if we were using any kind of, outside, other outside source? like
No, it's
working
gotta
with
be
another
to
township?
another entity.
Yeah, another, like
Like
another,
Delaware County.
yeah, or would it be for, like, if you're working with something going on with a Galena or something like that too?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what I figured. Okay, so, and that was what was in there last year, so I left that in there. Insurance bonding, that's for my bonding. Office supplies, we talked about that earlier, $7,500. That would be for the plan for the future, any kind of operating systems or computer program that we would need to bring the zoning department up to snuff where we get on computer. And that's something the chief and I are gonna work on together.
If we're gonna get Esri, you're gonna need to jack that up just a little bit.
That was my question. Does that need to be $10,000?
If we share it or I pay a third for my piece that I would use, you probably, I think 10 to 15 maybe.
Really?
Yeah, it will be so worth it and the time saving. I mean, like these guys can use it for road plotting and paving. I mean, it'll do everything. But I'm just not sure what the cost is. But again, I know this is part of the budget. We'll research that
Okay.
and come up with a better number for you guys.
Okay, that'd be good.
Scrape it from somebody.
Yeah, we
other
could,
than if I
yeah,
need to get it up
absolutely.
there.
Yep.
So that shouldn't be an
Yep.
issue. Other expenses being 5,000, I would say that's in there for any kind of properties. If we wanna, we're looking at some property, and there's some, I got another instance out here. If we decide that we wanna go out and clean something up and then charge back to the residents on their tax, that's in there in case we wanna do any of that. Self cleanup. And then the crossroads, that's for basically Holly. Crossroads Community Planning, that's what was planned for last year, and as we talked, the contract goes out for another year, so there would be that 66,000. And then, other than that, it's just the salaries. We have 40,000 in there for zoning assistant, which not sure at what point we'll try to bring that on. Right now, we don't need them, and we're covering with what we have, so we'll cross that road when we come to it.
The strategic planning company, were you thinking about the company that kind of audits how Holly's work in this strategic planning process? Like I had thought, well, for 10 grand, we need to hire an external accountability agent. Would that fit in there?
Yeah, I would say, I said, mine doesn't have any number in there. Does yours have?
It doesn't,
Okay.
but
I didn't have any plan.
so the comm person gets included in her contract. The comm person, the communications,
Like the
community
meeting
relations
facilitator, right?
person,
Yeah,
that's included in her contract. However, this external auditor is not, and I think that's an additional 10 grand. And so I think we should put that in there so that it's reflected in the budget.
So let it be done.
another 10. What are you gonna call that?
Strategic planning company is what it says.
You could say strategic
The auditor.
planning auditor. I'm okay with that word, auditor.
Okay. So well, we added a little bit to that other line.
Yeah, so
You had
20,
7,500 did, didn't you?
we went from 75 to 10, so we added 25 there and then 10 more,
Okay, it was
so 1250. 12.
Okay.
Does this Crossroads number reflect money we toss in there in case she comes to meetings in the evenings? How do we pay for those?
We added, well, we added 10% to her contract.
So that isn't,
Here.
that isn't here?
Yeah, it's paid, so it's $6,000 above what she's charging.
Okay.
Now for the strategic part she's gonna be helping with, that's another line item someplace, right?
No, I don't think so. Or is it?
That wouldn't be in this. I mean,
No.
Lisa,
we're talking
is
about
strategic
two
planning
buildings, that's-
separate in the budget?
Yeah.
Thank you.
She pulled that out.
Copy.
Okay, that's in
Then,
general,
in that case,
okay.
cross out what I just said,
Okay, it's crossed.
So cross out the
because
10.
we would add the auditor to that,
I
correct?
separated them,
Yeah.
so, yeah, we're just.
What number would that be,
Can I
Lisa?
expand on that a little bit?
360.
Oh, yeah,
What?
yeah,
360 contract.
Okay.
yeah.
What is it?
So it'd be 1,000,110-360-0000. That's right where I have Buckeye at, Holly. And then some extra, because I knew we were gonna do the audit person, but I wasn't sure how much.
Anything else?
It was,
Tim wanted to say,
Yeah, on the Crossroads budget,
Yeah,
as we had talked in the, before. So we're looking at the total budget per year. As her contract runs out, or, we might use her. We need to discuss where we're gonna use her moving forward. Whether it's on the, Center Village, but we're gonna anticipate having to bring in help on that, which after I talk to them, I can bring that to you. What those people envision it would be, but it would just, like I said, be preliminary, but we need an expert. I don't know if that would be her expertise, but we need to figure it out. So I'm trying to keep all that within that 66,000 for the year. I don't know if that'll happen, or the trustees may wish to expand upon that after they see what's involved, you know, what kind of concept they come up with. So, but that's what I was talking about, trying to keep everything in that 66,000, at least for the concept and to finish the overlays.
I understand the intent. Thank you.
anything else? Am I forgetting a department?
I have a few questions.
Sure.
So on the temporary appropriation, I put planning.
What page?
Hmm,
I have to look in my email. I have no idea. It's where the general fund is. I guess where that starts at. It'd be on
And
page
that's-
2 of the general.
Is that in the same PDF or no?
No,
no,
not in the. That is the temporary appropriation.
Okay, this is an Excel spreadsheet.
Yes,
Okay, I got it.
and you go to the general tab.
yeah,
And I got planning consultants, 150,000, because I'm not really sure what everybody's planning on doing. Do we need to keep that? Do we need to lower it?
I think the goal has been to lower that.
Okay,
yes.
And Holly's working on crafting a resolution for next Wednesday. But my understanding is that she would continue to work for 5,000 a month, plus the cost of the comm person, which was
15 something,
15,
15 something.
I think 15. So you've got 7 months times 5, 35, plus 15 times 7, 1,500 times 7, plus 10,000 for your auditor person. And then the economic development and Montrose are free of charge. So I think those are your only 3 expenses, unless we wanted to put in some buffer in case there was an additional expense that we don't see at this point, or that we wanted to add.
well, so do you want the auditor in the planning consultants, or you want it in the 360 account?
Whatever you think is appropriate. I don't have a strong opinion.
Okay,
What would be the difference between the accounts?
well, contracted services is obviously contracted services, and planning planning is consultants. If you're planning, like developing or planning or anything, we would put it in there. Because once you start using these like contracted services, you always look to that from the previous years.
Mhm.
So if you get confused, you know what I'm saying, we kind of got to set where contract services, that's where it needs to go, that's where it's gonna stay. Or planning consultant.
I guess I'm curious the difference between a contracted service for a planning consultant. You see what I mean? Like it seems a bit redundant in the definition.
I'd like to be consistent over the years, because when you go back
So
to
where,
4 years ago, you can go, oh, planning, I put in here.
where do you want,
Contracted.
where do you want to put it? Whatever your recommendation is, I'm good with
Let
that.
me think about it.
Yeah, because to me, it seems like six of one, half dozen of the other.
I know.
That was the 1,110, 317 one.
Yes, I put 150 and then I highlighted.
The one
it.
I'm looking at's got 100 on it. It's supposed to be an old,
So I will figure it out and let you guys know right where I'm putting everything. How's that?
Great.
okay, sounds good.
And then my other one is, we have a capital account for general, so that we can transfer money. But it's got to be for encumbered purposes. And up to 10 years. So I didn't know if you guys wanted to start saving for a maintenance building, where we take it out of general and put it in capital, but you can't transfer back. So I don't know what you guys' thoughts on that, but I wouldn't transfer to the capital until the end of the year,
Okay,
The end of this year or the end of the
Yeah.
next year?
next year.
Do the transfer, you save money and then you make the transfer.
Yeah, so I put it in our budget, 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't transfer at the end of, like, something major happens, then we don't have to transfer it
Right.
to a capital. And capital you can have for 10 years, and then it goes back to your general. But it's a good, like, savings for
Mhm.
us.
Why did you recommend 100,000? And my question would be, can we do more?
Well, we could probably do more. I just didn't know about roads. Because
What risk do we embrace when we do
can't get it
more?
back for 10 years.
Understood.
yeah,
So, but we have to be able to encumber and say, okay, we're saving for this project.
Mm-hmm.
We're saving for $1 million
Mm-hmm.
building.
Which we anticipate is that we're going to build sooner than 10 years from now.
Well, then we'll have to put more money in.
Do we not?
No.
But that's the
Mhm.
thing, we
Yeah.
need to kind of figure it out. I just did 100,000.
Which,
to do
so
a start.
my gut reaction is you're not saving enough. That's my gut reaction. Save more.
I'm curious what is this putting it into a different vehicle? Is there some benefit that we reap from it?
Which you take it out of general and you put it into capital.
Okay,
So.
and what benefit do we get from that moving?
What benefit?
Yeah.
Because you're not, like the audit,
Uh-huh.
because they could lower our taxes. If we.
we're sitting on too much cash.
If we spend on
That's what
too
I'm
much
looking for.
money.
Okay,
Mm,
So it kind of takes it out of the general and puts it in capital, but we have to have a plan for that capital. We can't just throw money in there and go. We don't know what we're gonna do.
Are you, as the fiscal officer, comfortable with us saving $200,000 a year?
This year, or for next year, yes. I think you have to take it.
Year by year.
Because you don't know what is going to happen
Mhm.
in that fiscal year.
Mhm.
Like I said, we don't have to move it until the last, meeting of the year. Transfer the funds. So if we don't transfer that year, we don't.
What sort of restriction is there in case of hardship where you do have to pull the money out of capital? Is there just a penalty or how's that work?
We have to ask. We have to go to the commissioners and prove that we need the money, that there's a hardship.
But there's no payment
No.
penalty.
No, it's
So
ours.
just make a request.
Right.
It's ours, but we're just letting the commissioners know that we're encumbering it and for a capital expense. We're saving this for a specific thing.
So that's not a lot of risk.
I feel fairly confident in saying that in 10 years' time, the township will have a need for significant capital.
Right.
So I concur with John. I don't think that risk outweighs the reward.
I would save as much as we could toward a project that is within reason.
We just need to come up with that project of what you guys,
Well, you gave one, so let's just say it will. We know that there's going to be a need to develop township infrastructure. All right, so we're saving toward that project. And we,
Okay.
no more definition than that right now is sufficient, I personally. And let's say I'm gonna up it to $250,000. We say over 2025, we want to save $250,000. And we'll make a decision next December whether or not we can sock it away for 10 years.
I guess the only other question I have is, would it make sense for the township to use some sort of other financial vehicle for that money that we might be able to, I don't know,
Get money, make money.
make money on?
Yeah. Can we put it in some kind of a fund?
yeah, we can do whatever you guys.
Yeah,
want
we can
to
do that, but we have
That makes
to
way more sense.
designate this.
Yeah.
Otherwise
that's
we
gonna be
get in
the
trouble
problem.
with the auditor.
Right,
And I mean, I don't think there's any reason not to designate it as some sort of capital fund, but you know, if you put it in a vehicle, I mean, a couple $100,000, even at 3%, it's making some money.
yeah, I'll have to double check with them of what we can actually do if we transfer to capital. If there's any restrictions.
Sure.
Okay.
Somebody's gonna use that money.
Right.
In 10 years.
Yeah. Or less.
We might as well use it to generate some revenue.
Right.
Well, I already have
Right.
money in Star Higher
Yeah.
that pays better than the bank,
Yeah.
Right.
so.
Okay.
I try to sock money in there when I can.
But I like the concept of it being a part of our budget. I think that
Mm-hmm.
that
Sure.
communicates to our residents, which is important.
Anything else, Lisa?
Nope, that's it.
Gentlemen, you have any other questions on the general part of
So in the interest of being full disclosure, I asked Lisa to put in a salary for a township administrator beginning in July 25. Just to demonstrate that if we as a board made the decision to hire at that point, that we can afford to do it. And so that is reflected in this budget, if you didn't catch it.
I think the only challenge with that is that I don't think it's enough to hire someone of the caliber that we would need.
Yeah, so I made a couple inquiries in that regard. I agree with you that this is probably at the lower end of what I would be. You know, so if we're saying, hey, we want a person who has at least 10 years experience under their belt, then it's gonna cost the township. We're gonna pay for that. I agree,
Yep.
but I wanted to work it into the budget just to say, hey, we can do this. And if we decide not to do it this year, great, we can look at it.
I'm good. I have nothing further.
Anything else, John?
Yes, sir.
Guys, got anything else?
I did have one thing.
Yeah.
Lisa and I had talked about my budget is essentially kind of tied to hers because it's, you know, pens, markers, blah, 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 whatever we need. One of my big things, she asked if I had like any big projects that I was thinking about or any big ideas. I think my biggest thing is just making sure, which I already, you know, kind of mentioned to Lisa, was for training. With me being newer in my position, I know that we have training and travel on there. There are a couple that I think would be great for my development. That I'm pretty sure she already has in there because the numbers looked really good to me when I saw it. Sims is a huge one. and they have their stuff every 2 years. It's out in Wisconsin. I actually called them today, and roughly with travel and stay and conference, they don't have exact numbers because they were kind of going off of last year's numbers. It's a full 1-day conference, but the day prior, they do have individual training that you can take if you would like, which I would absolutely take advantage of. It'll be between $500 and $600. Obviously, it depends on if I drive or fly, whichever would be kind of more financially beneficial for the township. I can do either.
Fly.
Yeah, no.
Well, and
Well,
I would
I've
rather,
driven that many times.
I would much rather fly, but
Fly.
with the price of flights right now, I just, even
For
though
your-
it's not my account, I can't justify $1,000 for me to fly there and back. Like, that's what
Yep.
you're looking at in flights right now. But we can always talk about that. It's next October, or it's this, you know.
I
guess
would
next
budget a
October.
flight. I would budget for a flight.
Flying, okay.
Yes, I certainly would.
Dave, I think we sent folks to that last time, right?
Kendra did, she drove. I personally would not feel comfortable driving.
Would you take a Greyhound bus?
I would take a boat, a train, a plane. I would definitely rather fly, so if we could get that in there, I would much prefer that. So I guess upping the cost for that. But just for actual like stay, for the couple days that I would be there, because I would want to get there the day before in case of canceled flights and things like that. So flying the day before, stay for like 3 days, is probably gonna be about $600 with the conference for me. And then there's also, you know, OTA obviously is always in the budget because people go. And then they actually have, Ohio has an administrative conference this summer. And the exact dates aren't out, but I did look at like past years, and it's for everybody, all the way from administrators to administrative assistants to kind of everything in between on how to, you know, leverage your time in your office, leverage, you know, where you work, what kind of work you do, things like that, that I think would be super beneficial for, you know, this being such a new position for me still.
I agree.
So just as long as we have kind of my training essentially worked in there and travel for it, depending on where it is. The one in Ohio, I think it was in Akron last year, so it's like a couple hours away, or well, not even an hour. I would drive that obviously, but
Just,
I would love to fly to it. I will drive.
yeah, so
Yeah.
for all of our employees, I think the investment in your development is a good investment. And as you look at things that you think would be helpful to you, I would absolutely be supportive of that. And arriving at a conference after a 10-hour drive is no fun. Also, if fighting through airports is no fun either, but for the most part, you're going to get there in one
I would
piece.
much rather fight through an airport.
Yeah. So I would just encourage everyone to pursue those intellectual and professional goals. It sharpens us.
I don't know if anybody had a chance to look over the OTA agenda, the High Township Conference.
Yes,
Coming
but
up.
Lisa does need to know who's going. I'm going, obviously.
I'm signed.
Well, I haven't registered. Nobody's told me they're going. John,
I'm signed up.
he signed himself up.
I know I am definitely wanting to go, but you said you had to sign me up because I don't have a credit card. Yeah, or any way to pay for it. So I'm definitely going. I don't know if any of you want to go.
Can you email me that? and
It's
then
the
email
same
me
things
training
every year.
stuff?
I've
Copy.
been through
Like the
two
training
Like a
years.
that
training
looking at,
list,
yeah.
They have a
Might give
Vietnam
me a good
veterans
idea, so I'm
POW
gonna
speaker this
put my
year
budget
that I was
aside.
really
I saw
interested
that.
in hearing.
I thought that would be
Yeah,
interesting,
but he's not till the end.
That's how they get
That's
it.
the bit.
I know.
Yeah.
2 months.
That's what the raffle.
I'm gonna look at my,
Right.
this is on some of these trainings and get an idea. Okay.
Yeah, just email me all that information.
Okay. Last chance. Anybody else got anything?
Any comments from the public?
Up there, silent crickets.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Got some homework, guys.
Oh,
Ashley, can I borrow your blue pen? Sure.
Hold on. What?
So we got a bunch of stuff here.